Hey there, and welcome to the Wealthy LaLa Show with myself, Laurie Laursen. Today is episode 167. How are you today, people? How is it going? Well, I was out yesterday, and I'm always looking in my life for subjects to talk about. Some days are easier than others, and some days are just jam packed full of information. I could do 20 shows just on one day. Um, and I'm really grateful for that because that's actually what just so keeps life interesting and fun and playful and curious for me. So I was having well, I guess you could call it was a conversation, but I was with someone yesterday. Uh, Actually, really, I was at a dentist appointment, and the person who was cleaning my teeth, I was really aware she was trying to connect with me through like judging others and judging situations. Like first of all, the weather wasn't so good, and then um gosh, what was it? Oh, then she was complaining about how interesting and challenging it had been with her to go with a relative on a trip to Mexico just recently. And uh what was the other thing? Now, people, just keep in mind here. This is shit that I've done myself, okay? So, I'm using this particular person as an example of something that myself and I'm sure many of you have all chosen. Okay, so and then it became about the subject to this male, female, and other category now when people sign up for forums and stuff like that. And then, I was noticing that my teeth were a little more sensitive this time, probably from, well, I get it was from sort of the aggravation of that medication I was on that was creating the jaw pain that I talked about in previous shows. So if you guys don't know about it, I ain't going into it here. So, and good for you. You're lucky. You didn't have to hear it. So, um, but I had commented that my teeth were more sore. And then, of course, it was a matter of kind of going into sort of apologetically defending, feeling bad that my teeth were sore. Well, this was her. This was the person who was cleaning my teeth. And anyways, like I realized like the whole visit was actually really awkward. Like, because there was a lot of times where like I'm not saying I'm completely comfortable with this male, female, gay, trans, bisexual, or whatever those check marks end up being. Okay, I guess it's more gender, not anything to do with sex. Um, and but what I know is that as a person who felt that I couldn't be myself, I have no idea what it's like to be a person who's felt like they are a male in a female body or a female in a male body or a person who's in a male body and wishes they could dress like women and all of that. And I applaud anyone that can be themselves in this reality, like whatever that looks like. So I'm not saying it's it's something, I mean, gosh, we weren't raised with that. It's not something that's sort of ingrained. It's one of those things that we're shown as a different possibility. It might be a little bit uncomfortable. You look at the different perspectives of it from your own point of view, and then you go where you want to go with it. So that's kind of how I try to approach life. So I know that there's places in my life where I still judge. Um, but my main and I'm always doing what I can to be better than I was yesterday. That's really my target. I just want to be better than I was yesterday. That's kind of my goal. Not that yesterday was bad. It's just that life always shows me where else I could, maybe fluff this up a little bit, maybe soften this edge a little bit, maybe, be a little kinder to myself. And that might even include other people. So that's kind of what I mean by that. So without the judgment, I want to be better each day than I was in the morning, than I was the day before. And that's really fun for me. So anyways, but my main point of wanting to bring all this up was it was really fascinating how I was really aware that the conversation was very much to be a connection about or with judgment. So, like, without even knowing it, and if you guys notice it, like, you can think of one of our most common areas of this is the weather. I don't like the weather out there. Like, it's either I'm so tired of this weather the way it is. I'm so looking forward to the way the weather's going to be. I sure hope this summer isn't going to be bad like last summer. Boy, this last winter was really cold. Um, Part of the conversation too was, we weren't very smart that we all went away in January this year. February would have been the better choice because it was so much colder, which is true. And I was also really aware that when we decide something like that, it really closes off possibilities. Because as I said in a previous show, in February, when it was the coldest here in Alberta, or at least where I was living, our furnace broke down. It didn't completely, it was 28 years old. I forget, the heat exchanger or something was cracked. And so it was on its last legs, and we just happened to become aware of it and required it to be replaced like right now because it's putting a funny smell out in the house. And so it did need to be done now, but we were so lucky, so fortunate, and I'm so grateful that we didn't actually go without heat. So at one point, it was really funny. It stuck just at 19 degrees Celsius in our house. Wouldn't go higher, wouldn't go lower. So it could have been way worse, especially when it was like minus freaking whatever. So, but the reason why I wanted to too is like bring this up is like without even knowing it, we connect through judgment. We connect through judging other people, connecting through, judging. God, I can just see where I've done this so often, We have a person in common that we know, bring up a common judgment. Or, it could be work. It's a common judgment. You get together with coworkers, you judge work, and, it's funny because as I've chosen to change this more and more and become more aware of this, and I'm telling you, some days it drives me crazy because I don't always want to see my stuff, I really don't. I want to have my head under a rock like the best of us, okay? And so there's those days when I see that I'm choosing something and I'm like, Laurie, do you know what this is creating? And I'm like, grrr. And then I give myself a moment and then I choose something different. So, but what I'm aware of is like going to that quote that I have talked about on previous shows. Gosh, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work and what he stands for. The quantum field responds not to what we want. It responds to who we're being. So let me put this in simple language. When we complain, judge, bitch about life, people, the weather, our bodies, our kids, our spouses, our whatever. And now this is also something you got to be aware. It's the stuff you do in your head when you're by yourself. It's not just the conversations we have with other people. Because I used to think, God, I'm so positive. Well, I am with other people. But by myself, I wasn't changing it. I was still feeling guilty. I was still feeling shameful. I was still judging. Judging myself was my number one person. You know what? That stuff, oh gosh, what was that thing I heard? When I was listening to an Abraham audio recently, Abraham, who this woman, Esther Hicks, channels this group of beings called Abraham. So Abraham was talking to a person in one of their workshops and saying that Esther had left a workshop and her microphone was still on. So when she was no longer channeling Abraham, the workshop was done. She was going to either the washroom or leaving the workshop and did not realize that her microphone was still on. So she receives a text from her daughter saying, Mom, your microphone is still on. Now, what's interesting is Abraham, this group of beings, was using Esther as an example and saying that your microphone is always on. So we wonder why, when we're out and we're being proper, we're being nice, we're being whatever is expected of us out in public, and then we wonder why our life is still not going the way we want. And that could be in little ways. It could be just where, you spill stuff and then just little crap happens. Okay. Or it could be big stuff. It could be a cancer diagnosis. It could be another kind of an illness. It could be that your relationship is just going to pot. I mean, you could really hate yourself. So it's all different ends of the spectrum. So when we are judging ourselves and judging and connecting through judgment, we are creating that energy in our world, that vibration. And then as we vibrate and, simmer at that, simmer point, things that are like that is what we attract into our lives. So they may not be things that are necessarily like cause and effect. Like, I'm judging my husband, so therefore, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of a really good example, but I'm not necessarily then going to get directly more reasons to then judge my husband, okay, or be unhappy with him. It could be that it shows up as a really miserable teller at the store. And I even wondered in my own mind, because I actually really didn't enjoy this appointment, the dentist. I know most people would say, hey, well, you should just what is going to the dentist, Laurie? What do you expect? Well, actually, you know what I expect now? I expect my life to have a lot more ease in it, a lot more fun. And I also know that I'm getting information. So sometimes, like with the person yesterday, it could be, hey, Laurie, what were you simmering, vibrating at that you create someone who's in your, a sort of attract someone into your world that is being like that, being, connecting through judgment. Or it could also be that it's just a place where I see, you know what? This used to be okay for me before. I used to do it. I used to see the value in it, and now I don't. Now I see what it creates, and I'd like to ask for something different. So that's actually what I'm going to start asking for, is I'm actually going to start asking for a different experience at the dentist. But overall in my life, I desire that. I desire more ease. I desire more vibrancy, more playful. And yeah, so just, look around in your world and see, where do you connect with judgment or through judgment with other people? And like, if I could just invite you to a different possibility, that may not be what you actually want to create in your life. And then, of course, the thing that always pops up on the other side for me, because this is another thing that I have struggled with too, and becomes easier and easier each time I choose it and ask for it, is allowing myself to receive a life of ease. A life of ease physically, a life of ease with relationships, a life of ease with work, a life of ease with, all of that kind of stuff, with the people I meet randomly and or appointments I go to. And I know that I shared with you guys that I had a specialist that I have no longer. I asked for a new one, and I have created a new specialist in my world that is really lovely. Someone that I can work with, whereas the other specialist I couldn't. So, sometimes, like, that's what's really great about questions, is knowing, has this situation that you're created in, that you're in, or that you're aware of, is it something you need to change in yourself? Often it is. We don't even realize that. And then the next, and then the next situation, it could be the fact that it's time to ask for something different. And what do you need to be and do to change and create that? So, yeah, so like, I just really think it's really interesting that I used to really find, but I didn't question it before. It's just what people did. You just connect through judgment. the judgment of other people, judgment of the weather, judgment of work, and I think about it. Just the one thing with work, I was thinking about it with some people that I used to listen to, and they used to complain about work. And again, I can see myself in it. It's like, if you really complain so much about work, why would you stay there? So, like, you can see then where the challenge is of allowing yourself to receive something different and to receive something greater. And then, even from there, how many of us did not even know, or maybe you don't even know, that there is something greater possible, that that isn't all that there is, that there is actually something more and greater than that, you know? So, anyways, oh my God, I have a feeling this show could have been an hour today. So, how does it get any better? Thank you so much for listening, people. So grateful for you. If you have any questions, you have any show topics, any curiosities, or would like to book me for a session, I love helping people. Love helping people. My curiosity goes places. Anyways, have a great one. Big hugs to y'all. Bye-bye.